Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Steel Division 2, a brand new RTS game out by Eugen Systems, which looks at the Eastern Front during World War II, during Operation Bagration, or as many of you found amusing in my last video, the way I pronounced it was Bagatron, I believe it was. Uh, but without going into that too much further, anyone who's new to the channel, you'll quickly realize that one of my real skills as someone on YouTube is my ability to completely butcher pronunciations through no ill will. Just I have some trouble pronouncing some words, and yeah. Anyway, that being said, guys, today we're going to be taking a first look at combat. So in our video the other day, we looked at the operational map and army mode, essentially the campaign game without delving into the tactical battles. Today I'm going to be fighting my first tactical battle, and then probably in the future, if there's still interest, we'll probably actually play through a campaign game. I know this game focuses very heavily on multiplayer. It's sort of a game that a lot of people enjoy to play competitively. There's a wide variety of units. I believe they actually even made some of the Western Allied units available as battle groups that can be used in multiplayer games. And that's really where a core of the hardcore hardcore Eugen fans fall. But with that being said, my preference in these types of games, while I do enjoy playing occasionally with friends online, has always been the single player. And I think that's been one of the things that's kind of held me back a little bit from truly falling in love with games like Steel Division 1 or some of the war game games. Although I think Air Land Battle had an interesting campaign, I think Steel Division 2 does a lot of new and interesting things, and I think them basically taking the grand operational mode and bringing it down to sort of an individual operational campaign does a lot to strengthen the quality of the campaign, and they've gotten away from sort of the scripting that was really prevalent in Steel Division 1, where it's just like, all right, here's some battles you play, to more of a dynamic campaign. And that's really encouraging and interesting to me. But today we're going to be jumping in and looking at the tactical fighting itself. We're going to be doing that as a solo game just because I'm not terribly good at this game and I don't want to get myself steamrolled by a human when I probably can get steamrolled by the AI just as easily. So as we go into solo here, we can see we have three options: a skirmish battle, historical battle, and army general being the campaign mode. We're going to go into historical battles. We could do a skirmish just to do a quick pick up and play, but why don't we jump into historical battles? We can see this is very similar to what Steel Division 1 had, where it had a limited number of single battles rather than like a really in-depth campaign. They had campaigns, but really they were just linked battles. In this, you can see there are 6 battles that start with the game. I'm assuming they will add more later. They start on June 26, 1944 with the outbreak of Operation Bagration, and they go until the conclusion of the offensive, which I believe was on July. Well, actually, didn't the offensive go to August? In any event, goes to July 4th, where you kind of have the Soviets overextended and the Germans launch a counterattack that bloodies them a bit. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to play Stemming the Tide, which, based on my initial reading, I haven't played any of these. This is really going to be my first look at combat in Steel Division 2. But my assumption is here, you can see 2v1 means that there's 2 Soviet units and 1 German unit that are going to be fighting. The 2v2 means there are 2 units, 2 decks that the Germans can pull from and 2 the Soviets can pull from in desperate measures. Or if you go down the list, 3v3 Autobahn zur Hölle has 3v3, which means 3 German regiments are engaged, 2 Soviet divisions, and a Soviet brigade. So I'm assuming the more units, the more complex the battle. Stemming the Tide from the German perspective will probably be the simplest, easiest jump in and just kind of see how things play out. It may be hard as the Germans because we're going to be having a single brigade versus a armored brigade for the Soviets and a motorized infantry battalion. But if we lose, and it's just kind of our first look. You can see here, Stemming the Tide 2v1, June 26, 1944. Although the garrison at Orsha was still stubbornly holding on, the Soviet armored breakthrough forces had bypassed it already and were racing through the undefended German rear. The only regular Wehrmacht unit available in the area was the anti-partisan French collaborationist LVF Grenadier Regiment 638. In a desperate effort to stem the tide and only supported by a handful of Tigers and Stukas, their mission was to slow down the Soviet onslaught long enough to allow for much-needed reinforcements to be brought up to the front. So it's interesting. We're going to be playing a French unit that's fighting for the Germans, because there were collaborationist units from France, from various different parts of the German Reich that were essentially often conscripted into German service and forced to fight with the Germans. If this is labeling them as a collaborationist unit, maybe these were volunteers. I don't know. There were certainly volunteers in some of the Baltic states fighting for the Germans, at least initially. And actually, it's kind of interesting that in Normandy, some of the beach defense units were actually not Germans, but they were different units that were conscripted from other parts of the conquered provinces of the German Empire. That being said, let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to play Stemming the Tide. We're going to play as the Germans, just for simplicity's sake. I think I can play as the Germans. I'm confused. Why is it saying I'm... This is weird because I'm not playing online. So why... Oh, okay. Why is it yellow? Is that just the unit designation? Anyway, we're going to be playing as the Kampfgruppe Brodo, or however you pronounce that. And we're going to be playing against, it looks like just one AI unit? Yeah. Maybe just the 18th Guards Tank Brigade. I'm assuming we could drop down another and play, no, actually it looks like just the 18th. Oh, we could do the infantry or tank. So we can choose from either infantry or tank. So actually it looks like it's going to be one-on-one, I would guess. Okay. So if we go ahead and we view the deck here, what does it look like? The German units that we're going to be fighting with were in Phase A. So as a reminder, the Steel Division games are broken down into phases, where battles start off in Phase A, which is kind of like a scouting phase. Phase B, which is where sort of combat really intensifies, and then Phase C, which is sort of the last phase of combat. You can see the Germans are going to get some recon units, some infantry recon units here in Phase A. They're also going to get some regular infantry units here, the LVF Führer, LVF Grenadier. And then they're going to get a single grouping of Tiger E tanks in Phase A. So that'll be useful to have some Tigers from the start. But we only get 4 of them, so we don't have very many to draw from. Additionally, we get some machine guns, some commandos, and we get some anti-tank guns. From an artillery perspective, we get mortars in Phase A, and we get some F-190 Focke 190 A8s, which I believe are those fighters or ground attack? Click on this here. Does it say? Air ground. Okay, so it's air ground. So I'm assuming that's tactical air. And then we've got some Me-109 G8s in Phase B. We've got gun pits, trenches, barbed wire, which are some defensive things that we can leverage, all available in Phase A. And then you can see as the battle goes on, we get other units. So we get apparently some SS units come in Phase B. We get some munitions trucks, some additional machine guns. But really, the German forces are pretty strongly based on Phase A units here, it looks like. Phase B, there's not a ton of. Actually, if we filter out, we can see Phase B, there's some infantry, some munitions, some anti-air, and some air units, but not really any difference in mechanized forces. And Phase C is, again, just a little bit more infantry, a little bit more machine guns and mortars, and a little bit more air. So the armor that we get is all just kind of starting off in Phase A. With that being said, let's go back. We're going to play here, and then we're just going to go ahead and jump in. All right, so jumping in here, we can see that we have to hold the road to Minsk down here on the southern portion of the map. And then we also have to hold Babur up here on the northern portion of the map. We start with 1,000 points that we can use for our initial deployments. This blue box down here is where we deploy. The red box up here is where the Soviets deploy. Now, it looks like we're deploying behind a river, so that should give us a nice defensive position, but there are quite a few bridges over this river here. You can see there's one bridge down here, two. So if we actually count the bridges up, there's looks like there's a bridge down here on the southernmost part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bridges that the enemy can use to cross, which is a little bit daunting, but I'm assuming he can't cross this river with armor anywhere but at bridges. So I think the key thing is going to be initially our defense should be a little bit far forward, trying to use the bridges as a choke point, and then using the town in Babur as sort of a fallback defensive position. I think if we're broken through in the south, we're going to be in a little bit more of a tenuous position. We've got some good terrain, it looks like, and actually there's some hills over. This looks like this is a nice little hill here. Looks like it's elevated a bit overlooking this bridge. So there are some nice spots potentially to have some defensive bastions along the road and Babur up here in the north. But that's just kind of the terrain that we kind of see laid out here. Now, as a reminder, we've got these recon units, we've got this infantry, we've got 4 Tiger tanks, support elements with some MGs, anti-tank weapons, some mortars for artillery. We've got we start off with just some Focke-Wulf 190 ABs, which have a little bit of air and ground abilities, and then we have some defensive units. Now, the defensive units, I actually started this up about like 2 minutes ago and deployed my units and then realized that these defensive units come with troops in them. So you can buy a gun pit, which is free, but it's empty. You can buy trenches, which are free but empty, but you can also buy bunkers with machine guns, with PaK FAs, with 75mm guns in them. So I think that's what we're going to do first here. So I'm going to focus on putting defensive positions in place on these bridges. This seems to be the most vulnerable bridge here and the northernmost bridge. The other ones have a lot of cover around them. So this one I'm going to make sure we focus on first. We're going to put a 75mm anti-tank gun on one of these on this sort of hill overlooking this area. You can see as you select where you want to put the bunker, you can kind of see this green area is the field of fire that weapon will have. So obviously it can be flanked, which is something you have to be mindful of. But the 75mm here will have a pretty good sort of arc of fire if we put it right there. So that's what we're going to do. Again, I think this is a little bit of high ground. It's overlooking. It is a little bit exposed, so the enemy certainly could take it out. It is in a bunker, though, so it looks like it's a wooden bunker by the looks of it, so enemy shell fire certainly will destroy it, but that's something to be sort of thought through. Meanwhile, we're also going to put a machine gun bunker, I think, a little bit further down here. So we can put a machine gun kind of closer to the bridge itself. I don't know what the field, like what the actual line of sight is. That's a little bit concerning. I don't think I get a line of sight ability to like see what it can see. But we'll put this machine gun bunker down here. This one looks like it's concrete, so maybe that'll be better at surviving enemy fire. We'll kind of angle this one off just a little bit toward the bridge to make sure that it can see the bridge, so as troops kind of come over the bridge, they get hit with machine gun fire. And then I think we'll also do, because I do think this bridge is a little bit more vulnerable, we'll do another anti-tank gun. And we're going to do this one kind of over here on the right. And it's going to be more focused. It should have cover from these trees from indirect fire or from fire across this way. So this one's going to be kind of more focused, aiming in this direction, certainly overlooking the bridge, but if anybody gets across the bridge, we want to make sure that we're not immediately like outflanked. So really the focus of this one is going to be, and actually we should probably move it. Can we put it back here? Is going to be kind of the bridge itself and then also guarding the anti-tank gun we already have in place here. So we'll do that. We'll probably already be overrun if these guys are ever out of place. I don't know if this is actually a good strategy or not. I've never played with these positions before, but we'll find out soon. So we've got one MG position. We've got PaK 75 and PaK 37. And then we're also going to put some infantry here down in these. The plan is to kind of have these infantry go into this tree line here, adjacent to the bridge. So we'll put 2 infantry units here. They also have Panzerfausts, and then we'll put we'll put another infantry unit back here, guarding the rear of these guys. Actually, let's not do that. Let's do grenadiers. We've got plenty of grenadiers. They don't come with Panzerfausts, but they do have other good weapons here. So we're going to put one infantry unit here to guard this 75 millimeter, and then we're going to put one infantry unit back here in these houses over here to guard the 37 millimeter. So pretty strong defensive position, I think, here on the far left in the area that I think is the most vulnerable, or at least the most exposed. And that uses about a fifth of our money, so we need to be mindful of that as well. Now as we move down here to this bridge is a little bit further south, but it is a little bit better terrain for defense. The sort of the silver lining to that is you don't have as good field of fire from a anti-tank gun perspective. But I think what we may do with this one is, can we put it... So there's a lot of terrain that we can't put a anti-tank gun. Can we put it here? It looks like we can. So we can kind of have this 37 millimeter overlooking the bridge and the roads. You can see in this way. So she'll be straight on the bridge in a bunker. We'll go ahead and put an MG bunker down here as well, if we can get it in place. Looks like there's a lot of accessible terrain down here for fixed positions. We may have to avoid putting an actual bunker in place down there, and maybe we'll just put some infantry here in this building overlooking, put some more infantry in these woods, and then we'll put some regular infantry over here. And then I think what we'll also do is we'll put one support machine gun unit also, which is going to be put into this tree line overlooking the bridge. So a heavier infantry presence on this second bridge that we'll have to kind of focus on unloading once we can launch the battle. Moving a little bit further south, we've got a little bit better terrain down here for fixed defenses. So again, we're going to go with Pac FA in a bunker. Why do I keep calling it Pac FA? It's not the goddamn Russian fighter. This guy will be a little bit exposed in the flank. Let's not put him here. Let's do this. The thing is, he'll be exposed to any tanks firing over here. So we'll try and put him here. This way his flank is covered by this tree line over here if there's any enemy units that come across here. And he'll still be able to cover the approach to the bridges. It is just a little unnerving if we zoom in here. This bunker's flank will be somewhat exposed from over here. But hopefully that tree line gives it some cover. Okay, so we'll also put an MG bunker here. This one's going to be more straight on, just sort of guarding the bridge. And then we're also going to have some infantry support. So we'll put some infantry with Panzerfaust, some regular infantry, and that's the focus down here. I think we can also put an MG unit. We'll put that into the tree line up here. Maybe I'll put an MG unit over here on this tree line too. The real question is how much armor are they going to come at us with, because that's what we're going to really struggle to resist here. With all of this, all these machine guns and infantry positioned here, we only have one anti-tank gun here in the south. All right, so we've got these three bridges all covered. Now we're moving a little bit further south here on these bridges. We still have one more Pac anti-tank gun. That'll be just kind of focused straight on here. There's no risk to its flank. So it's just going to kind of focus on shooting down this roadway. We'll also put an MG bunker opposite of it to cover the bridge as well. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put some infantry here in the woods on each side of these guys to provide some support. And I think that's probably it. I don't know. I'm not putting the infantry in trenches. I feel like putting them in the woods is a better bet. Let's move further south down here. So we've got we've got two more bridges to cover. We don't have any more anti-tank guns that are at least fixed position anti-tank guns. Okay, so it looks like the terrain's going to be a little bit of a challenge down here. I hate the idea of putting this machine gun in such an exposed position. Can we put them here? Well, we can. Okay. So we'll put this machine gun over here. I think it's a little bit more protected, although certainly this wood line is a little bit of a concern. If we put it a little bit further back, have a little bit better field of fire. Okay, so we'll do that. He'll overlook this bridge with a pretty good field of fire. That's the last machine gun bunker that we have. We can also make sure we have some infantry support in the woods here. Put some infantry up here on this hilltop. And then we're also going to put another anti-tank gun on this hilltop up here too. He's going to go into these woods overlooking. So we'll have 2 anti-tank guns covering this bridge, along with some infantry, some machine guns. We'll put another machine gun up here, I think, to guard this area. And then I really hope, by the way, that my assumption is correct, that the enemy can't just cross the river, ford the river wherever. Because if they can, we're kind of screwed. All right, so we'll put this anti-tank gun here. We'll go ahead and put a machine gun unit also in support in this wooded area. Put a machine gun unit back here in this wooded area. We'll get some infantry supporting all of it. The other thing is we're going to be super vulnerable to enemy artillery, so it'll be interesting to see how much the Soviets bring to bear in the way of artillery. All right, so that is all of our support units from an anti-tank gun perspective. We do have artillery ourselves that we could call in. I think, are these on-map mortars or are they off? Yeah, these are on-map mortars. So I don't really know if I want to buy those. I'm not very good at leveraging that kind of stuff. Tank, we could bring 1 Tiger. So what do we have down here? We've got the 1 anti-tank gun in the south. Got 1 anti-tank over here. Might not be a terrible idea to put the rest of our money in a lone Tiger tank down here. And so what it'll do is if the enemy's coming down this bridge heavily, then it'll be here to support. If the enemy comes down this other bridge over here, then he can race over here and support both of these bridges. Theoretically, he could race north as well. So actually, let's do this. Let's take our 1 Tiger that we're going to be able to afford, and let's kind of put him in this wooded area back here. And then he'll kind of run to wherever he's needed. So from over here, he can guard this bridge if it's crossed. He can race across the country over here to guard this bridge if it's being assaulted. And then in the event that they go over here, he can go here too. But these 2 roadways are more directly in line with the Soviet deployment zone. So that, I think, will be a more useful approach. Okay, so I think I can pause it once the actual battle starts. So we're going to go ahead and pause instantly. We already have enemy contact. Can we just instantly unload? Okay. Alright, I just need to unload my infantry units here. Looks like we already are firing. Look at that, we got our anti-tank guns are already shooting at the enemy. Alright, so unload him here. There. I'm just getting all these units unloaded where I think it makes sense. Okay. Let's move him back there. All right.
I'll go ahead and unload these guys and this wood line. Those are bunker troops. That's another bunker. Okay. Almost done. Alright, so everybody's moving here. Unit bunker is under attack. So I think that's our bunker over this direction. We can see here that it looks like, I'm guessing the main enemy effort is going to be to cross this bridge up here on the left. You can see this 75mm bunker is already under attack. It does look like we have knocked out at least some Soviet units here. We've got a lead. Oh, this looks like a Sherman. All right. So apparently we're dealing with some Lend-Lease equipment over here. Meanwhile, we've got their half-tracks. These look like M3. These all look like American half-tracks. Moving over here. And so we'll just kind of move forward here a bit. We can see here that our gun is under attack. There's a bounce shot here. All right, so there. So I just used the mouse button. All right, I'm going to rotate this camera a little bit. Get a little bit of a better view on things here. So we can see here that there's tracers flying everywhere. It's kind of cool to like zoom down and see how things play out here. So we can see there's a big explosion on something over there. Meanwhile, we can see incoming fire on us as well. You can see here we're shooting back over here. 99% chance of a hit, 21% chance of a penetration. Looks like there's ricochets going off the hull. That's pretty freaking cool to see that. So the 75mm bunker is under attack. How's the other bunker doing? Is this guy even shooting at anybody? Doesn't look like he's even shooting at anybody yet. So it looks like we just destroyed an enemy something. Crew killed, falling back. We've got enemy infantry moving into these houses here across the river. This pack isn't seeing anything yet. Shit. He doesn't even have a field of fire on the bridge, does he? He's too flat. That's a terrible bunker placement by me. Okay. So you can see here there's other attacks going on across the way. Our anti-tank gun over here, this bunker, is pinned down. I wonder if our 75 is the only one with the range to engage these guys across the river. All right, enemy tanks are coming over here. So we've got, I think these are Shermans. Shit. All right, we're going to move our Sherman over here, or our Tiger over here. You can see this bunker is pinned down and getting hammered by enemy machine guns. Are these all Shermans? They look like it, yeah. All right, so we've got our Tiger on the way. I'm going to call in another Tiger. We're going to use our first set of reinforcements on another Tiger tank. It doesn't look like I haven't seen any casualties on our end yet. The bunker over here is doing a good job. They're dropping smoke to shield perhaps some advances over here. They've got another tank over in this direction, another Sherman over here. Our 75 is really doing some work. We've got 3 burning vehicles over here. Looks like some artillery might be coming in over here also. I think that's enemy artillery. Do we have... How much is air? 140. I know where I need to launch some air. This artillery seems to be shooting long. Meanwhile, nothing destroyed yet by the looks of it. These guys are hanging in there. Oh, nice! We just destroyed something of the enemy at the base of the bridge. It looks like a Sherman is burning and on fire over there. Got another burning vehicle back here. So our bunker's trying to do its job. Shooter knocked out. Armor cracked, another Sherman going up, just like a Ronson. I know the Ronson thing is a little bit of a myth. Wait, where are these guys going? I didn't order them over there. Get the fuck back over here. Apparently troops can just run across the river. Shit. If infantry can just cross the river willy-nilly. Alright. We've got one Focke-Wulf 190. We know there's some enemy artillery over here. So we're going to call on our airstrike. At least to pin them down, perhaps. So we've got enemy infantry probing us out over here on the right. Enemy fighters. So we're going in here. Not even sure where my fighter just went. Is he still shooting? Looks like there's a lot of enemy armor over here. Alright, so there are enemy units crossing the river here. I'm going to call in some new grenadiers. Try and race them over here to this front to race into these woods. Because they are penetrating across the river a bit here. Nice! So our air units strafing enemy troops in the river just broke them and drove them back. That was a good result for us there. Does look like they're falling back. Our air unit's still in mission. How are things going back down this way? So we're hanging in there so far. I only have the AI set to medium difficulty. Now we're also still in Phase A. We've got about 4 minutes left in Phase A. I'm guessing more of the shock troops come a little bit later. But I do think we need to get some troops into this tree line here to prevent enemy troops just kind of running across the river. Ah, nice! Our air unit just shot down an enemy aircraft. Very good there. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. We're going to end this episode. This will be a two-part look at the battle stemming the tide and solo play in Steel Division 2. I know we only just started fighting. This video really focused more on sort of getting started and the deployment phase, if you will. The next video will really focus on the remainder of the battle itself. The video was a little bit long, so I wanted to kind of break things up. So hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts, and obviously check out part 2, which will be coming out in about a day or two, taking a look at the remaining portion of the battle of stemming the tide. With that being said, guys, thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, as always, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.